Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Y'all know who it ain't and who it is. It's the blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media signing blacking and shining again, asking you to hit that share button because the message is more important than the messenger. And that being said, listen, this one is for Jay Cash and the Jay Cashes, as you can see in the title. I'm going to start by talking to Jay Cash. Not so much the Jay Cashes, but Jay Cash, the Jay Cash. I want to start by telling you that I know confusion when I hear it. And you are a man facing a confusing situation. And I think that a lot of your confusion may have been dispelled recently. I hope it has been. But I can tell that you've been facing a lot of confusion. And it ain't your fault. It ain't nothing you did wrong to bring on this confusion. You have dealt with a confusing situation and you have decided that you're going to answer it in a balanced manner. This is what I can tell already. Now, I'm not doing what I accuse a lot of wicked witches of the West of doing, which is claiming to have some sixth sense, third eye, magical, spiritual power of introspection, and I can see through people. I know things based on experience. That's it. And certain, when people talk, they'll tell you certain things. I don't know everything about you, but I do know this situation, and I can recognize someone else going through it when they describe it. Some could say, look, Black Mind, he just copied your stuff. It's possible, but there are things that I went through that I did not tell people, or certain details that you did corroborate. I experienced them. I saw others experience them. And then you corroborated them. Let me give you but anyway, let me say this. I'm going to give a story right quick. And this is for the Jay Cashes, for you, Jay Cash, and for others in the audience. And listen, to most of the audience members, go to Jay Cash's channel. Just type in the search box, J space Cash. That's his YouTube username. Check out his 3 videos in which he replies, because when he describes a scenario, a lot of you listening are going to recognize it. And then you'll know why I recognized it. Listen for yourself, and you'll know if I'm just sympathizing or if I actually hear something that others have gone through. Because many of you in the audience that did not go through this still saw others go through it. So anyway, that being said, Jay Cash, other Jay Cashes, the rest of the audience, check this out. Here where I live, I have learned to speak enough Arabic. I'm not fluent, but I've learned to speak enough to get around, take directions, things like that. I speak the proper textbook formal Arabic. The people here have their slang, of course. I can understand about half the slang, but I don't speak it. And then, of course, there's a broken Arabic that they use for Indians and Pakistanis, because their languages are Hindi, Urdu, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, many languages, Punjabi, Gujarati. So they've got these, many languages in India. So, but Arabic ain't one of them. So, when they come here, they develop this broken Arabic, because that's what the local Gulf Arabs talk to them in. I don't speak that. I know what it sounds like. I don't understand it. It's too broken. So now that you understand these different levels of Arabic, I walk to people sometimes, and I've got to talk to people and deal with them and ask questions. And I wear Western clothes. I'm almost always wearing jeans for a practical reason here. There's a practical reason I need to wear them. So I wear them. I wear whatever shirt and top is necessary for the weather that day. I'm clearly a Westerner. And I'm bald. I don't just have a little haircut. No, I'm scalp bald. So yeah, I'm clearly a Westerner. I walk up to people. Assalamu alaikum. I know there's a famous seafood restaurant. Is it on this street or the next street over? Am I close to it? Or I walk up into McDonald's. Assalamu alaikum. Do you have the Grand Chicken Deluxe left? Or did, some customer get the last one? Or Assalamu alaikum. Do you have Diet Coke in this store? Things like that. I kid you not. Every so often, I will walk up to someone, speak to them in proper textbook formal Arabic. They will look at me, blink their eyes, and say, I don't speak English. Now, see, that's when a father mucker's not listening with their ears, but with their eyes. You can't hear with your eyes, but that's what they're doing. They see the dress. I'm clearly not from here. I'm not an Arab. That's it. Their IQ goes out the window. Oh, he's not going to speak to me in Arabic. I don't speak English. And this happens every so often. And when it does happen, I'm not polite with them about it. I tell them, you stupid father mucker. I didn't speak to you in English. What the hell is wrong with you? I asked you in Arabic this question. Do you know the answer or not? Don't act like I didn't speak Arabic. Sometimes they start talking to me in the broken Arabic, and I didn't speak to them that way. And that's when I really say to them, you're a dumbass. Don't talk to me anymore. Shut up. This conversation is over. I've done this before. Some people here say, oh man, that dude Black Mind is a dick. And I tell them, oh, I'm worse than a dick. I'm a gorilla. I'm the only black man it's okay to compare to a gorilla, because actually that's a compliment I don't deserve by the time I'm done behaving the way you deserve. That's what happens. But the point I'm making is you got people that can't learn past initial assumptions that they make. Now, the people here that do that are dumbass Bedouins. There's no nice way to say it. They're not even Bedouins. They're dumbass Bedouins. They're the kind that other Bedouins make fun of for their stupidity. Because to be a Bedouin, you have grandparents that didn't live in permanent housing 2 generations ago in their own childhood. They moved in, the government put them in their adulthood 2 generations back. That's the meaning of a Bedouin. But a dumbass Bedouin is the one that believes that Bedouins are supposed to be stupid and uneducated, so they act it out. Just like you got black folks that believe white folks' negative stereotypes of them. I'm supposed to be that niggerilla King Kong acting ass nigga off the Tarzan movie, so they act it out. The same thing. So I have to say these nasty things about them, because they're too stupid to learn past initial assumptions. Sometimes because the hospitality in the Gulf is very nice. And some of them say, oh, come to the house and have coffee. But I'm like, bruh, thank you, but that's not going to work. I appreciate the invitation, but you know that's not going to work. You're going to say something dumb. And by now I know they got low IQs. I mean, they may be nice, but they got low IQs. I'll be like, look, you got Diet Coke? Yeah, it's back there. I walk back. Where's the Diet Coke? Oh, there's no Diet Coke. Father Mucker, you just told me it's back here. I'm sorry. What you mean you sorry? Why did you answer the question wrong? I didn't understand you. Why did you answer if you didn't understand? How did you not understand? I asked you in your language, do you have Diet Coke? You said it's back there. What's wrong with you? I'm sorry, man. I don't know what's wrong with me. That's usually how the conversations go. Or seafood restaurants that way? Yeah. To the south? Yeah. But that way is north, the way I just pointed. Yeah. So which way is it? Stuff like that. Now, what I'm saying is they stupid. They don't know they stupid, but they stupid. That's what you're dealing with, J Cash. You're dealing with a demographic that can't learn past its initial assumptions because of something that they see. Once they see something, they can't hear any new information to change their assumptions. You're dealing with that demographic. And one of the ways I learned what I was dealing with was that I came out here to this part of the world and saw the same pattern in another group of people. That's what happened. So, that being said, I know confusion when I hear it, and that's what you've been through. You have decided you're going to take a balanced response, and that's why you have avoided 2 extremes. One extreme is to automatically dismiss anything that they say that could be not flattering to you. That will be narcissistic and vain. The other one is to completely take everything they say to heart with no scrutiny, no grains of salt, and that would cause low self-esteem, or it will result from low self-esteem. Either way. So, you've chosen to avoid either one of these. You don't want to be an arrogant, narcissistic dick. You don't want to be a low self-esteem, head dragging, I don't know what to even call it. Pushover, a rug. You don't want to be that either. And I can tell you've decided not to really be either one. You avoid extremes with them. One of the reasons you're so good at avoiding extremes with them is because you've heard so many scrutinies from them. What I'm going to tell you is exactly a thought that's rattled around in your head several times, but you probably dismissed it because it sounds too extreme to be true, but it is true. I know from experience. Other men are also going to know this when I say it. There is no right thing for you to do with them. They can't see that anything you do is right because it's you doing it. I believe that it is due to the phenotype that you face. Well, the phenotype you have. I do believe it is the phenotype that they're stereotyping, and they can't stop stereotyping it. And so, really, the only thing that could make them stop would probably be if you went around, if you did what I did in my last year of high school and just started beating up different black men. But I did it for. My situation was different. I had to do it for self-defense reasons, but it just happened that every fight got more exposure and more coverage than the last one did. So when I finished my third one, it was all over my home city. You know, black mind is knuckling up on niggas. Not knuckling up on men or white men, or no, knuckling up on niggas. That's how they described it. Booting up on niggas. In the Gulf Coast, we used to call it booting up back then. He's booting up on niggas. Because we called each other niggas like everybody else does in every other part of black America. So, you know, and there it is. Black mind is booting up on niggas. If I was out there fighting white folks, it wouldn't matter because, you know, and that's not real. They're not real fighters. That's what we would say. But you get the idea. Now, if you did that in your last year of high school, it probably would have gone over well. The problem is that, you know, now you're an adult. I'm assuming you're in somewhere between your late 20s to late 30s. I don't know the exact age, but I'm assuming that. And right now, if you did that, then you'd just be an immature brat. They would say, well, he's too old for that. But if you don't do it, they're still going to assume that you're some kind of pushover, weak, and conceited and arrogant. It's funny. It's like on one hand, they assume you're weak. So if you have any sense of humility, they're going to take that as low self-esteem. But they also assume that you're a narcissistic prick. So any self-love they're going to assume is arrogance. That's what I'm telling you. There is no right way to go because they can't see you as balanced. The same way that people here can't see me, if they're stupid, they can't see me as a decent Arabic speaker. Now, if they're not stupid, they say, wait, wow, you're obviously not from here, but you learned our language. That's pretty good. Where did you learn it? That does happen. Most people are smart enough to at least see that, even if they don't say it. But, you know, it's enough dumb people out here to where I live now, probably about twice a month that might happen. First town I lived in, that happened weekly. But, you know, I'm just saying there are enough dumb people to where I come across it. But you're dealing with the same thing there. It's a stupidity. They can't see. It's even worse because they're actually not as stupid as the people are, the dummies are here, but I wouldn't say the people, but the dumb people here are much stupider than the stupid people in the States. However, you're dealing with a situation in which they think that they're so smart that they can't learn anything new, especially when it comes to men, especially when it comes to black men, especially when it comes to racially ambiguous black men. And in South Carolina, you don't actually have to be as racially ambiguous as you would on the Gulf Coast. I already know this. I won't explain how I know, but I know in South Carolina, the threshold is actually less extreme than what it is in the Gulf Coast. I'm racially ambiguous. I don't necessarily look like a black admixture in the wintertime. I do now. But in the wintertime, I don't necessarily look like one. I look racially ambiguous. You, sir, from what you described to me, you look like a black admixture. A mix with black. But there where you are, the threshold is much milder. In other words, while in the Gulf Coast you might have had a bit of an easier time as long as you knuckled up on somebody every few years, because at least your hair had some waves. Where you are, apparently, you didn't have to be as ambiguous looking, just an admixture was enough. And the funny thing is, keep in mind, your state is the state in which DJ Kid ran through 700 sisters. Now, the most player black man who's willing to settle for the lowest of the low, the bottom of the barrel type women, could not go through 700 sisters like DJ Kid did. And he ain't even no DJ, he's a party promoter that puts on a do-rag, yo, but has a hatred of black men on the low. And these sisters did not scrutinize nothing. They open their legs, then they check the social media. In your case, they trying to check your social media and they still ain't gonna open their legs. Because they looking for something to be off about you. because they can't look at you and imagine that nothing is more off about you than it is about whoever else they've been screwing. Now, they're right that something has to be off about you, but that's because you're human. That's not because because you're bright, you're light bright, and you don't have Bantu West African features. That's not why. You're going through this, and they're assuming that you have to have something off about you simply by looking at you. I believe that because what you have described is exactly that. There's something that they see. It's not something that they heard later. It's something that they see. And that's not your fault. Now, if there was something wrong that was reasonably wrong enough to drive them off, like you got halitosis or smoker's breath, something like that, or, they can tell you're going to have some skid marks in your drawers, even standing at a distance from you. Things like that. Something reasonable that would drive them off. If that was the case, at least two that started off feeling you and then changed their mind would have told you something, and it would have been the same thing. Not just two different ladies. Two that started off feeling you would have told you something that was consistent. That's not what happened to you, is it? Go ahead and nod your head no, shake your head no. I know that's not what happened. And the reason I know it's not what happened is because, like I said, not only did I go through it, I saw someone else go through it, so I was able to see what this is. You're dealing with this for a reason that is so shallow that they know it is too stupid a reason to justify what they're doing and how they're differentiating the treatment of you. They can't stop doing it, but they know that they can't tell you either what it is because it just sounds too stupid even to them, and they would know you got them dead to rights. Wait a minute. So you sit up here making judgments based on the exact same damn thing that your whole demographic insists on not being judged by us. You don't tolerate colorism when it doesn't work in your favor, but you're going to practice it against me. And then, you're free to like and dislike whatever you naturally are inclined to like and dislike. But let's be honest, is this a natural dislike of yours, or did you learn it? Now, they know you got them dead to rights. This point they know. Now, if at least two, and if you're in your late 20s, you probably have heard this from at least one, but maybe two. If two of them that started off digging you, feeling you, liking you, have told you the same thing, that explains why they didn't, then you can go ahead and listen to that. But if that's not what's happened, then the only thing from what you told me, the only thing you've heard on a consistent basis has been they don't trust, and therefore they don't date and don't give chances to light brights like you. Nothing else. That you've heard more than once, I know. Let me tell you what's going to happen next, J Cash, and I'm glad you came out and told this. Number one, you were brave for doing this, because I'm an older guy. I don't live in the U.S. and I'm married, so they can't say I'm doing this for selfish reasons, trying to make up for lost time. That's not possible. I don't live in the States. They can't dox me without being seriously sued for it and losing a good bit of money. And it would be more expensive to successfully dox me anyway, to be honest. That would cost them a pretty penny. But in addition to what they'd have to pay to get the information, I've already saved up enough and spoken with an attorney here in case it happens. So then they've got to turn their information over to two different governments in order to answer to a lawsuit. And they would have to pay for not only would they have to pay for my loss of income, but also for any resulting flights and deportation fees and property loss I sustained due to the resulting deportation. So I'm in a safer position. And I still don't put my name and face out there because I have dependents in the United States. You see? So it's easier for me. I'll just be honest. What you did, you live in the States. You've even mentioned which state it was to illustrate its demographics. And let me be honest with you, man. So since you've illustrated what, you've illustrated what state it was, and you haven't hit, you've been brave. You've shown courage. Other Jay Cashes out there, if you heard his story, you know that your situation is the same. Come out and do the same, but the same way he did it. Don't give your real name. Don't put your face on there. You are not required. Don't let anybody goad you and appeal to your ego. Man, cam up if you real. Don't let anybody appeal to you to do that. You're taking a position that will cause you to be doxxed. The ones telling you this are taking a position for which they get widespread support. It's conditional, but they got support you don't have. Tell the story anonymously, with your voice and not your face. And really, I would recommend, if your voice is distinct, I'd recommend you use one of those free apps on Android that changes the voice, do the recording, make a video with Video Maker, and then upload it. That being said, Jay Cash, this is what's going to happen to you next. Number one, you're going to face a backlash, not only from the gynocrats and the matriarchs, from the wicked witches of the West. You're mostly going to face it from their goons and their ma'am dingoes, the simps that cape for them. You're going to face it from them. That's when you finally get enough exposure. When more start listening, and I'm going to actually try to expose you, but understand that I'm doing it for your benefit, but you will have a backlash that comes with it. I won't be able to prevent that. No one will. You can prepare for it. You don't necessarily have to engage, but you can prepare for it. Now, the good thing is you've got no kids, so they're not going to be able to use that and say, look, I'll dox you and your kids. You ain't got no kids. But understand, the ma'am dingoes and goons are going to be the main ones coming out. The main ones. Some of them are going to tell you need to look at yourself. The only common denominator in all of these cases was you. That's a true statement, but it's said for the wrong reasons. It is said because, see, now the entire effing world that's literate knows that the Western woman, including the Western black woman, is not normal in how she selects her men. We respect her right to her opinion, but she is not normal. Everybody that's literate and has internet access and social media can understand English, specifically AAVE, can learn this. That's the case. Now, that being said, now that we got that out the way, they're going to come at you with self-improvement. Maybe you need to be in the gym. Why don't you cam up so we can see what's happening? They're going to do that. Kevin Samuels would have done that a long time ago, a few months back, but he seems to have now come to understand that no, actually, the men ain't necessarily delusional. They're not informed, maybe ignorant, again, because nobody sits down and gives game to us at a young age. But since it's ladies that largely do the scrutinizing because they're allowed to do it, and we don't because we're told not to, it's been them in control, and so he's now giving them the accountability talk. That's good. He's doing this. That being said, be prepared for these guys. Kevin Samuels doesn't seem to have done this anytime recently, but he was this way a while back. There are going to be others. Now, these guys may never find out about you. The ones I know, so the famous ones like C Boogie may never find out about you, but someone's going to come along and preach the same thing he does is not. They're gonna say, look, it ain't them, it's you. Maybe you need to go to the gym. Maybe your breath stank. I don't know. Look at yourself. Work on yourself. They'll say that. Yeah, okay, you can afford to work on yourself. Any man can, but they're going to act like, no moderately attractive black woman has ever needed to work on themselves for any reason. They have every right to sit back and scrutinize while refusing to meet any standards. And if they meet any standards, then refusing to give a shot to men that don't meet negative stereotypes. Their mind is still skewed. Now, that's what you're going to come across from them. They're going to sound a bit more logical. What I'm going to tell you is, you're going to also you're going to deal with a backlash from the matriarchs and the gynocrats themselves too. They may be fewer in number, but they're going to be the bigger headache. Because you could even be reasonable with them and you don't start stuff with a particular individual and they're going to always have some snide remark to say. They're going to try to deflect. Some of the ones that don't hate you, but they just don't want to hear any standards held, they don't want to hear ladies being held to any standards by men, are going to have some snide remarks and some cutting remarks and cutting sarcasm sometimes and things like that. Those are the ones that don't hate you. They just, they may just want you to tone it down and look at yourself. And sometimes these are ladies that actually didn't mean any men any harm, but they got a hold of a bad one. And so they don't understand what you're saying. They're going to be like that. They're going to be others. And they're going to know what they're doing. And what they're going to do is they're going to claim that spiritual, psychic, third eye, melanin magic, sixth sense power to look deep into your soul through the keyboards and the internet and the cyberspace, from their keyboard and screen all the way through yours and into your soul, and dissect you. And they're going to try to diagnose you with mental health disorders. And it's going to be funny because if enough of them do it, you're going to get mutually exclusive mental health diagnoses. Like, you're a stuck-up narcissist and you're colorist and you think you're automatically attractive because you're light-skinned with a thin nose and wavy hair. And the others are going to be like, oh, you're weak, you have low self-esteem. Well, which one is it? You a narcissist or do you have low self-esteem? You see, that's what's going to happen. Anything other than listening to what the hell you say, thinking about it, introspecting and realizing, you know what, yes, we actually do treat different guys differently for very shallow, stupid reasons. And then we lie about it and try to gaslight them. Because we want a bunch of things out of life and we don't care to work for them ourselves. And even if we do work for them, we still want more than what we can earn by working. So we're not going to admit that, though. They ain't going to do that. See, everything in life you got, you definitely did not sell some ding-a-ling for, because ain't nobody going to pay for that. A man that likes men is more likely to pay for a ding-a-ling than a woman would. That's the funny thing. I admire that type of arrogance and that kind of conceit. The problem is a lot of times they're still insecure. And I'm like, so if you're insecure, why are you conceited? They can do that, so that's why they think they can diagnose you with both of them at the same time. Because they can be arrogant and conceited about, men while being insecure about themselves. They can do that because they're trained to view you as less valuable than they are, even if they don't realize it. And we're trained to view ourselves the same way. Right off the bat, because we got outdoor plumbing, somehow we're less valuable. And even a very smart gentleman named Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews thinks that it's just normal that men have to work harder than ladies do to get the same results out the opposite gender. In an environment that preaches gender equality, even he with his intelligence is victim to that, because that's how deep the conditioning goes. You're going to be faced with this. You will probably get support, and I'm going to try to get that for you, but you will get a backlash that none of us will be able to prevent. You can choose how you will engage, if you will engage, but be ready for it, because if you're not prepared at all and you don't know what's coming, they will actually be very convincing on the surface. We don't need that. If you start to see it their way and not see it the way you see it now, you will be in the wrong. And I'm not going to make any, I won't make any excuses. So, that being said, I really appreciate you coming out and describing what you dealt with. I mean that from the bottom of my black heart and the depths of my black mind. And I want the other J Cashes out there to come out and say what they've been through, what they faced. Expose it. Because the more we know, the more we hear, the more we're going to understand about how this pattern works. The clearer the picture we're getting. We've already gotten a clearer picture, collectively speaking, than we ever had before social media, let alone before the internet. Now, we're getting more telling these type stories. We'll have an even clearer picture. And the J Cashes out there are out there for various reasons. Sometimes it is phenotype, like what you and I went through. A lot of times it would be. Sometimes it is the opposite phenotype in certain parts of the country, like in California. Other times it will be because of just simply put the absence of negative stereotypes embodied in such a person. Glasses. Things that don't necessarily make you socially awkward, but are associated with social awkwardness, because, let's just be honest, the Western Sapphire's vaginal positioning system is completely off. It'll be things like this. Well, He was quiet. What? So he's crazy? Well, he really did well in a foreign language class that we had to take. Ain't nobody liked that class, but he was doing all right in it. Oh, so that makes him so that means that he's automatically deserving of less respect? I mean, not only was he not your type at that point, which I guess would be fine, but you couldn't see why he would have been somebody else's type. See, that's when they're going too far. It's going to be for different reasons, and most of them are going to be for shallow and stupid reasons. And the way you can tell is that if you were to apply these same standards to them and treat them the way they would treat you when they have these same traits, all of a sudden it's shallow and stupid, even in their eyes. She did well in the chemistry class. Nobody else liked it, couldn't understand it, but she excelled in it. I don't like her. She would look at you and say, so what? You don't like me because I'm smart in a subject y'all struggled with? I mean, that's what happened. So what I'm saying is that you're going to deal with this onslaught, the backlash, the whacklash. If you prep for it, no biggie. It'll be an irritant, but it won't shake you up, won't keep you up at night. But if you're not prepped for it, it'll shake you up and even convince you. Can't afford that. For your own sake and sanity, you can't afford it. Next thing you need to know. And then I'll be done. Lord willing. I mentioned in some previous videos you may not have heard yet that in 2001 I was told by two friends of mine that did not know each other finally what it was, and it was the phenotype, and that was pretty much all it was. Everything else that they may not have liked was exacerbated by the phenotype, because they overlooked it in other guys. Like certain things that they may not have wanted, they had to overlook something in every man, of course. It's just that in my case, because of the phenotype, even if it wasn't ugly to them, it was still a liability, so that means something has to compensate. I wasn't compensating for a goddamn thing that I did not control. So, because that would have been a sign of low self-esteem too, and then they would have jumped on that. So I wasn't going to do it. But consequently, what that meant was, okay, well, that means that socially speaking, they can't justify what they're doing to the girl. So, that means I got to wait till they're in a committed relationship with someone else, or until they're married, or until they've got somebody else's babies, or they got to do something they could tell their friends they're using me for. Because they can justify that. They can. What the second one told me was, she said to me, Black, you should have started dating other races in 1989. You should have actually never tried to date black women. Now, she was talking about black Americans. She said to me, you should have never tried to date black women. Because look at the way that even now, they're talking bad about you in the office. They can't say you're ugly, but they talking bad about you because you actually want to know the things that they want that they're not telling. They're looking at you like, how dare he figure this out? Because you ain't supposed to know. And I was like, so what's wrong with knowing if I could offer it if I knew it? And she said, the problem is you'd be able to offer it. And that's not what they're looking for. They want to justify what they want to do. What they want to do is they want to show off. And right now you can only show off the tall, muscular, bald-headed, dark-skinned man. That strong black man stereotype. You can show that off. Can't show off something else. You can get away with something else, but you're the opposite. You're not short. You're not skinny or fat, but you're not bald-headed. You ain't dark-skinned. And she said, white men might be afraid of you, but black men ain't going to be. They want the black man that white and black men are afraid of. When she pointed out to me, I was like, oh, that hits it right there. The thing was, I forgot about it shortly after because 9/11 happened. However, 2017, something jarred my memory. 2020, something jarred a memory from 1991 in which a friend of mine, lady friend, told me the same thing, but she was making a guess. She said, I don't know, I'm guessing, because it was still relatively new in 91. I'm going to tell you the same thing, J Cash and the other J Cashes. Do not ever again approach an African American woman, no matter how good she looks. If she's interested in you and she's got everything on the ball, she needs to shoot a shot at you first. Then, of course, she's interesting both to look at and be around, and she's got things going for herself on the ball, similar to what she would demand that you have going for yourself. and she shot her shot, sure, fine. But do not ever be the first one to do that again, ever. Don't do it. Now, some listening to me would say, well, hold up, Black Mind. That's the punishment for the good ones that are out there if they shoot their shot. That's not a punishment. Because again, if they're shooting their shot with others, why not you? And they are. So if they shoot their shot with others, they can shoot it with you. If they are good, but they can't shoot their shot with you, then it's still a bad deal for you. Some would say, well, what if they never shot this shot with anybody and they were the same way with J Cash they were with everyone else? Well, I can't answer that because there's no way for you to know that they're the same way. The only way you can know that they're the same way is if they have stuff on the ball and are nice to look at and they shoot their shot with you. That's the only way you would know, because we know that a lot of them do shoot their shot with somebody. We know that. So there's the only way you would know that that's the case is if they shoot their shot. Because let's be honest, sisters will shoot their shot. They'll say they don't, but they do. So anyway, don't ever make the approach. If you're going to approach, don't approach the white one either. I've already said they're dangerous. I can't tell you to do that. You may do it anyway, but I'm not going to tell you to, because if you're going to crash into a burning ditch, I want to make sure it wasn't because of the directions I gave you. So I'm not going to tell you to do that, but what I am going to say is consider, if you're going to shoot your shot, consider the traditional Latina or the traditional Southeast Asian. Now, if you're Muslim, you cannot be with a Buddhist or a Christian, really for that matter, not in the U.S. But if you're Christian, what I would say is this: the traditional Southeast Asian might be a Buddhist, and that's not compatible with your faith, but there's a high chance of them following you into a monotheistic faith. So if religion is important to you, or at least if it's important that they not worship statues or something like that, the Southeast traditional Asian has a high chance of following you, or a reasonable chance of following you into some kind of monotheism, and the family not disown them for it. I just wanted to throw that out there. But I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry to tell you, but you just, actually, I'm not sorry to tell you. It's not something you didn't know anyway, but you when it comes to shooting your shot, you damn near have to appear to be a racist. Even though you don't have self-hatred issues and you've been race loyal, this is just a question of self-defense and self-respect, really. You can't shoot your shot within our ranks anymore because it's never resulted in not even good results. It's never resulted in results as good as what it has resulted in for other men. Why is that? Why are you shut out of, just equal treatment and equal status with other dudes? Well, like you said, something's very shallow, something very stupid. Now, this is assuming that no two that started off feeling you can tell you the same thing that's been driving them away. It's assuming that. And I doubt that is the case, because usually when this happens to somebody, they work on that and they don't come on social media to find answers and then stumble across me or anybody else in the manosphere. That's usually what happens. I mean, if they get the feedback they're looking for, they work on it, because obviously that's going to be where the solution is that they wanted. Usually when they stumble across this, it's because they've been getting, mixed messages and confusion. Nothing concrete. That being said, you can afford to look in on yourself, find something to work on and improve. That's okay. You can afford to do that. Any man can. But if you do that, you cannot offer that finished product within our ranks anymore. You can't do that, because you still are going to get less than whatever the hell it was that they gave somebody that was in their lives before you. Guaranteed. To the other J Cashes out there, whatever the reason is that you went through something similar and you were not told objectively something that would have reasonably caused this, get that voice alteration software from Android's Play Store, download it, record it, get an alias, and upload a video without your face and tell the story, please. Thank you all for listening. I hope that one day this won't be necessary anymore. In the meantime, I hope this helps, man. black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it.